September 29, 2006. What kind of man, in the middle of a dark smoke-filled rooftop in Ramadi, Iraq, hearing the metallic click of death at his feet, would choose not to throw a grenade back, but instead pull it into his own body, knowing exactly what would happen next? On that scorching afternoon during Operation Iraqi Freedom, Navy SEAL Petty Officer Second Class Michael Monsoor, serving as a sniper and assault team member with SEAL Team 3, was part of a four-man element, providing overwatch from a rooftop above a hostile street, when insurgents suddenly launched a coordinated attack using rocket-propelled grenades and automatic weapons, the air tearing apart with cracks of gunfire and screaming shrapnel, dust and blood mixing, so thick it felt like the building itself was bleeding. And as the firefight intensified, one insurgent managed to hurl a grenade that struck Monsoor's chest and dropped at his feet. A horrifying moment frozen in time where instinct tells a soldier to grab and throw, yet Monsoor saw something else in that split second. His teammates, wounded and exposed, unable to escape, and the grenade rolling too close for any chance of survival if it detonated among them. So instead of throwing it away, he shouted a warning and threw himself on the explosive, absorbing the full blast with his body, an act that killed him instantly, but saved the lives of every man on that rooftop. And those men would later testify that they lived only because Monsoor decided they should, a decision born not in training manuals, but in character forged long before Ramadi. In earlier deployments, where Monsoor had already shown a disturbing calm under fire, once remaining in an open street providing cover fire, while a wounded SEAL was dragged to safety. Bullets snapping so close witnesses said they could hear them breathing past his helmet. And another time taking a direct hit from shrapnel, yet refusing evacuation, insisting on staying in the fight, creating an almost ghost-like reputation among those who served with him, calm, quiet, deadly focused. Yet war is never just heroism, it is horror layered with noise and fear, and that rooftop in Ramadi became a nightmare scene as the blast echoed through the structure, bodies thrown against concrete, ears ringing into silence, and when the smoke cleared, Monsoor was gone. His blood soaking into the roof he had been defending, a sight so shocking that hardened combat veterans later described it as something that never leaves your sleep, never stops replaying in the dark hours before dawn, because they knew they had just witnessed a man willingly step into death while they were forced to live with the memory. And this moment was not an isolated miracle, but the final chapter of a war life defined by deliberate courage. Michael Monsoor had deployed multiple times, operating in some of the most violent urban combat zones of the Iraq War, where enemy fighters blended into civilians and danger, lived in doorways, rooftops, and shadows, where every step up a staircase could end in an ambush, and every quiet street could erupt into chaos. And it was in these environments that Monsoor's presence reportedly steadied entire teams, his silence louder than speeches, his actions more convincing than orders. And after his death, the men he saved carried not only survivors' guilt, but a responsibility to tell the truth about what happened, ensuring that his choice was never softened or exaggerated, but remembered exactly as it was, instant, selfless, and final. And for that act, Michael Monsoor was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration, not for killing an enemy, but for choosing humanity over survival. A decision that cuts deeper when you understand the brutal reality of combat medicine and battlefield triage, because Monsoor knew, as all experienced operators do, what a grenade blast at that distance means. There was no illusion, no hope of escape, only certainty, and still he moved. And perhaps the most haunting part of his story is not the explosion itself, but the silence afterward, the knowledge that courage sometimes looks like stillness in the face of annihilation. And that wars are not remembered only by victories or defeats, but by moments where one person stands between others and unimaginable horror, leaving us with an unsettling question that refuses to fade. If you were standing on that rooftop in Ramadi on September 29, 2006, hearing death land at your feet, would you have had the strength to make the same choice, or would fear have decided for you?